And we're discussing this in detail, and that was just the curtain raiser. And if you go into what the regulation is, that's 2180. That's the road traffic regulation that we have the Ghana Police Service NTTD operating with. It does indicate that the commercial use of motorized cycles is unlawful. We do have a senior manager with the National Road Safety Authority in charge of planning and programming, and Henry Asumeni is joining us. Henry, good morning to you. Henry, good morning to you.
Good morning. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can. Now, what does the law definitely say about this, the use of motorized cycles for commercial purposes?
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning to our listeners. If you look at the LI 2180, as you rightly said, yes, it prohibits persons to use the motorcycle to carry passengers for fare. So, but it allows you to do courier with motorcycle. So what we are talking about here is where you pick somebody, a pillion rider, and charge for that service, transporting the person from one end to another. That is what is the law prohibits. Thank you.
General scheme of how this tends to dovetail into overall rates of accidents we have, how do the numbers look like?
If you look at the statistics that has come throughout the years, let's say if you pick up 7-8 years back, you realize that the motorcycle incidents have been rising sharp. Around 2010, 2009, 2010, motorcycles was, if you look at the category of road users who were contributing to fatalities on our roads, motorcycles were about the number 6, number 5, number 6. But now it is the second contributor to fatal crashes on our roads. Hello?
Yeah. Now, when it comes to this and the overall contribution to road safety, what does it mean in terms of the cars themselves, the numbers on the road, and the percentages that contribute to the accident and then the fatalities?
Hold on, let me just position my phone well.
Right, right.
Okay, so thank you. So as I was saying, if you look at the statistics, motorcycles have contributed over the years. Let's say if our statistics show from 91, it has been increasing since then. And as I mentioned, around 2010, let's say in 2010, the number of fatalities were involved using motorcycle was 210, 2010. But then in 2018, it's 559, which means that between 2010 and 2018, it has gone up by about 200%. So that is what the statistics shows us. And as I was saying, it used to be about the number 6 contributor, but now it is the number 2 contributor, second to pedestrian still is the highest contributor when it comes to fatalities on our roads. After pedestrian, then you have motorcycle. That is using the statistic between 2016 and 2018. Motorcycles contribute to 24.4% of all fatalities that we have had in this country.
Now, I do know that our conversation is going to capture the overall concerns about increment in road accidents generally. But once we have gotten to the stage where the conversation is about trying to mainstream the business of motorized cycles for commercial purposes. For what reason do you think the drafters of the regulation that inhibit or prohibit the use of it may have had when they were doing all this?
Thank you very much. It's about, it's more of a safety issue. You know, when we talk about road users, we talk about vulnerable road users. And the most vulnerable road user in our setup is the pedestrian. After the pedestrian, then you have the riders, that's the motorcycle riders, and then the bicycle riders. So it is a vulnerable road user category, because when you are on a motorbike and you are involved in a crash, you don't have any protective barriers like the vehicle. You know, in the vehicle, you have protective barriers that could protect you in a crash. But with a motorbike, you do not have these protective barriers around you. And that is why it is advised that, and it is by law enforced, that when you are on a motorbike, you should wear a crash helmet, because that is what will protect your head in case of any crash. So it's the second category of vulnerable road users, and that is why it informed that decision to prohibit its use for passenger fare carrying passenger activities. Because when you allow that to happen, you realize that you have an influx in communities, and the influx will bring about higher risks. And if not regulated well, it could lead to what we are seeing now.
Now, the intent of the law is there, the spirit and the letter. But then we also know that we have agencies like you. You used to be a commissioner, now you're an authority. You're supposed to work with maybe the Ghana Police Service, the MTTD, and the other allied agencies to make sure you enforce this. How come we have this illegal on the law, but now we have so-called numbers of these motorcycles on our roads?
The truth is that because it's prohibited, there is no statistics to show the number of Okada in the system. The statistics show motorcycle riders. Because if you go to the licensing authority, you don't get data on commercial motorcycles, because there's nothing like that. The only commercial motorcycle activity that you have is for the courier services, which is regulated by the Ghana Post and other regulatory bodies governing that sector. So there's no statistics to show that we have this number of Okada on our roads, or that we see it. We see that we see a lot of motorcycles on our roads. We presume that most of them are Okada, but there's no statistic to back that claim that there are a lot of Okada riders. So we can't get statistics to show the involvement of Okada riders. We would only get statistics for motorcycle riders.
Yeah.
I don't know if I am clear.
I get the clarity you're trying to establish. So why haven't we enforced that section of the Road Traffic Regulation 2180 up till now, so that we don't come to the situation or the point where we don't know the numbers, even though the DVLA records or registers motorized cycles?
Okay. I don't know if you see, but the police from time to time does a lot of enforcement in this sector, where sometimes they do a swoop and they arrest people who are perceived to be using the motorcycle to carry fare-paying passengers. So it's an area that is enforced, but maybe it's not adequately enforced. But I think that it's an area that the police have been doing swoops on, and sometimes they even arrest and seize motorbikes perceived to be doing that activity. But then there's a conversation also going on, which happened from last 2 years, where some people were calling for the legalization of this activity. And in view of that, the authority, together with its supervisory ministry, the Ministry of Transport, embarked on a stakeholder consultation. And within the stakeholder consultation, we sought different views and we had different views. You have some people wanting the prohibition law to stay. We had some people also wanting it to be legalized and regulated, and we had others also wanting a segregated law to allow it in some parts and not allow it in other parts. And so these are the options that are being looked at, and I'm sure very soon or sometime later this year, the policy direction will be given in that line, any of the options that are taken. And then we as implementers would go ahead and implement whatever policy that is brought on board.
In countries where this is an acceptable norm, whether it's regulated or not, how do we fare in terms of the numbers of the accidents?
Are you asking about comparing our crash statistics to these countries?
Motorized, yes.
If we pick some countries that we know that it's legal and it's regulated, like let's say even just around us, Togo, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and Co. Yes, we if you look at data, yes, we are doing better than them. I don't know if that's what you want to establish.
Yeah, that's what I want to establish. Now, okay. The conversation now that has again come up, the other side of the conversation is that right now, we don't have the data, we don't know the numbers, and you even as regulatory authorities, you don't even know who is using what they have registered their motorized cycles for. So what about then that argument that if we regulate it, then we can keep it in check?
Yeah, as I said, there are options in place, and even the government also looked at all that, and it's in this vein that there was a working group that went on to understudy some countries who are doing these regulations. And they came up with a report, and that report informed the stakeholder consultation I spoke about. And then, as I said, a report has been submitted, and as an government is still looking at it to come up with a policy on it.
How do we broaden the discussions further on this? Because you are saying as an authority you don't have a position, right? You follow the law. So your position is the law.
Our position is in relation to safety. We look at how safe the means of transport is and how it would affect on the road users. So that is where we look at. And as I said, whatever the policy guide comes up to be, we will look at the safety aspect and make sure that we won't have these numbers escalating.
Now, we do know that if you look at the stats, based on what you have recorded, it just forms a minute section of general road accidents. What other contributory factors are there for the numbers that we're recording generally for road accidents?
As I said, the most contributor to the fatalities is the pedestrian. If you look at statistics, let me just pick between 2016 and 2018 as I picked for the motorcycle. If you look at it, you find that pedestrian contributes 37.4%. Then also buses and minibuses, that is passenger carrying vehicles like our VIPs, STCs, the trotros and the rest, they contribute about 16.4. But the announcement I was making initially was that these buses and minibuses initially were second to pedestrian, but motorcycles are overtaking that, and now they are second to the pedestrian.
Okay.
And I must also say that over the years, the pedestrian fatalities have been coming down gradually, because it used to be about 42%. Now it's about 37.4%. So we are making gains when it comes to the pedestrian. We are making gains when it comes to the minibuses and others. But Unfortunately, it's worse off when it comes to motorcycles, tricycles, and the rickshaw.
The fatalities?
Yes, please.
Now, we know that enforcement by the MTTD, it's a critical part of ensuring that we reduce these fatalities. Why is it, and not only related to motorcycles, I mean generally?
Yes.
What have been some of the reasons why we've had a non-effectiveness of that sort of enforcement from that authority or the department?
Okay, thank you. I don't know, but if I would give it a word, I wouldn't say non-effectiveness. I would say inadequate. And I think the Ghana Police Service is working on that. And very soon, I'm sure we are going to be. We all know that they are working on. We all know they are working on something about the automating their services. And in automating their services, what they want to do is that they want to, one, be able to apprehend offenders and process offenders in real time, so that we stop this time lag where now it becomes difficult to sometimes even locate offenders. So there's a system coming in place where I know the Ghana Police Service have gotten very far, and very soon that will come into place. They would use technology to be able to apprehend and prosecute offenders.
I do know generally, based on my interactions with your office as well as the other stakeholders, that there are other factors beyond what are the physical things on the road that contribute to accidents. What are they?
The main contributory factor to road crashes in Ghana is the human factor. When I say the human factor, I mean those who use the road, whether you're a pedestrian, you're a driver, or you're a rider. That is the main contributory factor to road crashes in Ghana. And you realize that the main attribute to fatalities in Ghana is speeding. Because when you are at certain speeds, when you're involved in a crash, the impact is so high that we lose a lot of lives. So that's why I will go back to the enforcement bit. That is why the MTT is trying to automate this operation such that they will be able to bring down speeding of drivers, the speeds of drivers, because now what they are bringing on board, people would know that if you speed on a road more than the limits that is permitted on that road, you will be apprehended, and it would force people to reduce their speeds on the roads. And that's the main contributory factor of fatalities on our road. Yeah.
And the counter-intervention should have been or are?
The counter-interventions are, one, as I said, the police enforcing the speed regulations. If you see them on the roads, you see them with these speed camera guns, the radar guns, and then they use that to check your speeds so that you reduce your speeds, or if you are apprehended, you are prosecuted. But as I said, has been inadequate over the years, and that is why it's being enhanced to a different form of technology, where now, wherever you are, you will be seen by the police. So you can be apprehended even if the police is not there, and you will be, an offender will be apprehended anywhere that the person finds himself. So this is something that is coming to help in what they do now. As I said, I won't call it ineffective, I call it inadequate. And they are bringing that to be able to make it adequate. And then we will be able to take off a lot of people who are not driving well. That's how I call it, because if you are speeding above the speed limit, you are not driving well. Yeah. So a lot of people who are not driving well off the road.
Now, if you look at the latest report of the BRR, and we're talking the Building Road Research Institute, and they tend to collate all the data for which we always use for the conversation, the research, and the education. They recommend highly the use of technology. You have mentioned about how this is taking long into being deployed. What have been the reasons why we're taking so long in automating our traffic systems and using technology in the interventions?
I wouldn't say we are taking long, because you need to do it well. I'm coming. Let me just finish, Roland, please. I said I wouldn't say we are taking long because you need to do it and do it well. You could just start something, and you know technology. You could just start something, and then you wouldn't have seen some risk factors, and then it would cut. So you need to get all the risk factors that could affect whatever you want to do, mitigate them or avoid them. Then you can successfully implement. To say that this project is going through all that so that when it comes on board, there is no room for failure because it's something that is coming to affect people. It would affect the lives of people. It would affect me and you. And we don't want where somebody could challenge the system like that the person could, let's say someone challenges a case, the person wins a case, and then you realize that your system is flawed. So that is what the police is looking at. We want a flawed system. We want a system that would work perfectly. We want a system that will change the attitudes of people. We want a system that will let people fall in line. So yes, it may have taken long, but I think that we want a system that when it comes on board, it would reduce our bad attitudes towards the roads drastically.
And they do also recommend, that's the BRI, that the implementation should be adequately supervised by you. But we also do know that when it comes to the deployment of technology, while you could supervise it, the enforcement bit is not coming from you. What sort of collaboration should there be then when it comes to, after deployment, proper enforcement?
Okay, thank you. First, let me make a clarity on this. This statistics you are referring to is for the National Road Safety Authority. Building road and research.
Sure. No dispute about it. No dispute about it.
So, yes, the recommendation is such that there should be a supervisory role to ensure that the system works and it's in place. And that is why I said I wouldn't say it's taking long. We have been going along with them. We know what they are doing. We know what they are bringing on board. And yes, if you look at our new mandate as well, it also gives us the authority to ensure compliance within the road safety space. And since the enforcement bit is coming from the police into the road safety space, yes, we have a very good relationship with them. We are moving with them along the line. As I said, even the system that they are deploying, we are with them. We know what they want to do. We know how it would work. We know the risk factors. We know how they are mitigating these risks. So we are with them constantly. So it's something that there's a good relationship between the National Road Safety Authority and then the Ghana Police Service. And whatever will be deployed would be something that the National Road Safety Authority is in support.
Yeah.
And would help to make it a successful implementation.
Right. Let's bring somebody in who is also independent of what the state parastatals may be doing. Now, look, Dr. Godfred Achiadakwa is CEO of the Road Safety and Transportation Consultancy. And thank you for joining us, Dr. Achiadakwa. If it comes to what is done in the best jurisdictions, Europe, the United States of America, some of the best countries in Asia or even the Middle East, where they tend to do on the spot detection and then, let's say, surcharging, billing, etc., as part of the component of enforcement on road safety. Why has it taken us so long to be able to deploy some of these systems in Ghana?
Good morning.
Morning. Please, can you reduce the volume of your set, or if you have any equipment that is having any sound on it, we'll be happy.
Yeah, I've just done. Okay. Yeah, good morning, listeners. Yes, your question is valid, and we need to interrogate it deeply. When you look at the implementation of plans that can reduce the carnage on our roads, we needed to have a strong political will by government to support that intervention. But before government will also do that, I know government has done a lot of studies, and the academia has done a lot of studies, and we, the experts, have done a lot of studies concerning the life of one average middle-level person who dies on the road. And we can just oppose it for the number of people who die on the road per annum. We have an average death rate for the past 10 years to be 2,200. And as at June, if we have recorded 1,141 per day.
Henry.
Yes, Roland.
Okay. Dr. Chadakwa, are you back? We're having some difficulty with your stream. It's got to do. Okay, please go ahead. Please go ahead. Okay. Now, Henry, we know that we need to have some timelines. The Spot Fine initiative that or the system you wanted to implement and some of the automated systems. What is on board? When do we intend rolling them out? It's been a long time in coming.
Yeah. It's something that, as I said, will be coming soon. But I'm sure that at the right time, we would engage the media to give you the specifics. As of now, I cannot give the specifics, but it's something that wouldn't keep that long again. So just give us some time. Let's iron out. As I said, we are trying to mitigate some risk factors. Let us just complete that, then we can give you accurate timelines.
Dr. Chadakwa, are you back? Dr. Chadakwa? Okay. So there is an important component of new changes we're expecting in the current regulation that is being revised. What are the propositions that are before the Committee on Parliament or the ministry, so to speak? What are they?
Roland, I cannot really tell you everything because this is not in our domain. It's at the domain of the Ministry of Transport.
No, we're talking.
So
we're talking what stakeholders you, as an authority, have been in the middle.
As I said, with the review of the LI, it is the Ministry of Transport who has been leading that process. So I don't have the collated documents, so collated responses from all these stakeholders to be able to speak to it.
Well, I do understand your fears. Now,
no, these are not fears. I don't have the data. I don't have what the information you seek to find.
No problem. Dr. Chadakwa, are you back? Can you hear me now? No. Dr. Chadakwa, can you hear me? No.
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Sorry, it's the internet. Now, when the West and the developed countries do that sort of implementation, what sort of consultations and pre-deployment actions do they go through that makes them so successful at the deployment and the implementation?
Let me say it away. What is making the advanced countries being successful in the implementation of road safety maneuvers, that is reducing road crashes in those countries? One critical to this, that how do you call it? The intercoms, the telecommunication devices that they have around. Even if we want to use speed limiters and hang them all over on our roads to check people who are overspeeding. In fact, that is the most critical thing. That is people are dying from. I mean, the overspeeding. That can be done where we have cameras all over our major areas or the black spots, and that are linked to the net, so that we can have a live-on arrest of people who violate the speed limits. That would be one critical thing. And people who are using mobile phones, who are driving, we can find them. People who have their vehicles broken down and have left them unattended on the road, we can have hand-on arrest of them. When we even take these three elements off from the road by using modern internet infrastructure, that is why I keep on saying that government is going on the right track and it needs their support. Look, if we are able to Wi-Fi, he said they are going to Wi-Fi the tertiary institutions, I would plead with them, they should go advance to the extent that all the principal road networks must be monitored. as the MTTD has started some years back, that they monitor the roads and see places where drivers are having violating the road laws, then we get them and apprehend them. And in the advanced country, that's what they do. You can't commit a road crime and go. Your vehicle number plate will be translated into the person who is driving the car. And that is why the national identification card process is so good and important, because you are going to fuse the driver's license with the national ID card. So, and then when we box all of this into the internet infrastructure, what will happen is that when we get the identity of the vehicle number, we can straight away trace to the person. So the vehicle owner might be at home and will be arrested, or a ticket will go and be placed on post. We have such infrastructure, this road carnage will reduce. And I'm praying that government should look at that, so that this integration thing that they are doing, the national identification card, the license, electronification of the country, will go a long way to solve the road issues, and not only the road issues, major problems in this country will be solved in that. So we have to encourage government to go ahead with what is with the digitization of Ghana.
Yeah, but nobody is prohibiting government. Governments, its institutions are themselves delaying the timelines to achieve digitization. So it's not.
So the government should raise the whip. The government must raise the whip. They should not tolerate or allow any organization to try to detract government from achieving these success. So she raise the whip, so that we should do the right thing and make sure that we save a lot of people who are dying untimely on the road through no fault of theirs.
Now, Mr. Asumeni, if you look at some of the interventions we've done, what have been some of the inhibitions so far, especially in human behavior or a change in human behavior?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. The line was not...
What have been some of the impediments or difficulties you've experienced in trying to change human behavior in relation to how they contribute to crashes or poor road safety activities?
Okay, thank you very much. And sorry, I didn't greet Dr. Achadakwa. Good morning. That's my senior man right there.
Good morning, brother. Good morning.
Okay. Yes. See, one. I have. There's a saying that education without enforcement is entertainment. And as we have all come to agree that the enforcement, when it comes to road safety regulations, is a little inadequate. And the police, the Ghana Police Service, as Mr. Chadakwa just pointed out, they are trying to do exactly what he is talking about. But as I said, there are other risk factors that he has also raised about the connectivity. And they are trying to see how to go around this connectivity issue. And so we have done a lot of education. The police have done a lot of education, a lot of enforcement. The DVLA has been doing its part. Yes, changing attitudes is very difficult, especially when we know we can get away with it. Let's say, I know if I speed here, I can get away with it, then I will speed. It's a natural behavior of human beings. But where we get to know that everywhere is being monitored, I think it will change behavior drastically. For now, we are trying to use education and a little bit of enforcement to change behavior. It's working, but it's not working as quickly as we would want it. So, as I said, the police are going to automate their system, and in automating their system, it will be such that they will be monitoring everywhere. Everywhere, every major road, every black spot, they will be monitoring. And you will be apprehended if you fall foul of the law. And when people realize that now they are being watched everywhere, I think people will fall in line.
You mean it will only be taking place in Accra and Kumasi, right? Because I don't know how...
No, it's not being taking place in only Accra and Kumasi.
Damanko, those long stretches. Anyway, let's go to a transport yard.
Roland, you see, when you are starting an implementation like this, you look at where you would have effect most. And as of now, we've identified some major roads that we have a lot of issues with. And these roads are the first target roads to be monitored. Then it would expand to Damango.
But Roland,
Dr. Chadaka. Yeah, please go ahead.
I want to make a comment.
Please.
I want to make a comment. One thing that is not also helping us in dealing with the solution to this road road crash issue is that the law enforcement. I have problem with the punitive measures that are meted out to the people who violate these laws. the punishment or the fines are so meager. So it does not serve as deterrent.
Are you sure? Dr. Chadakwa? Well,
No.